Rescue Wop. Save the dinosaurs from an island that's about to explode. What could go wrong?
Hello and welcome to Fallen Kingdom, where we return to Jurassic World 1 minute at a time. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And here we are back to discuss minute 11 of Fallen Kingdom. No episode last week. Dave, you were a bit sick and I had some other things to do, so we're back again to record new minutes of Fallen Kingdom. But before we talk about minute 11, we're going to go over to Jurassic-Pedia briefly to talk about Franklyn Webb and Zia Rodriguez. First up, Franklyn. We've got an article here by Sickleclaw. Pretty much the full backstory for Franklyn as we learnt in Fallen Kingdom, and then later in Dominion with his return to the franchise for the final film there.
Yeah, he got a small cameo in Jurassic World Dominion. It was kind of more like he was just... Oh, no, I'm sorry, I was thinking of Lowry. Yeah, he was in there for the first scene, and then we got him again. I guess he went CIA on us.
Yes, along with a lot of the other park staff from Jurassic World. But yeah, as I said, there's a full biography up here of his life and his partakings in Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom that we know we're going to talk about now as he's introduced and much of the way through the film.
Mm-hmm.
And quickly looking over at Zia Rodriguez, also article up by Sickleclaw. Again, full backstory here on Zia, her biography, her paleo-veterinary career and all that sort of stuff as well, and another character
yes,
comes
that
back.
Is a thing.
Yes, it is. Unfortunately, she couldn't get to the park in the end, but she's here with the DPG helping out in Fallen Kingdom, and she's going to be back with the dinosaurs again in Dominion.
Yeah.
But for those two characters and many more, head over to Jurassic-Pedia.com and check out the site.
Mm-hmm.
That was like 40 seconds. You're getting better.
You gotta stop letting your mom shop for you.
You don't need to insult me every time someone pisses you off.
Dude, I'm a doctor, not a telemarketer. What is your job again? You plug in cords, right?
It's actually more important than it sounds.
Before we start on the minute, just got a little bit of feedback here. We do have a question or something posted up on our YouTube channel, which, if you aren't aware, this podcast does go up on the YouTube channel, audio version, so if that's an easier way to listen, that's a option for you as well. But one listener on there asked in one of the earlier Fallen Kingdom minutes that we should we take a look at the original novels. And David, I know before the end of Jurassic Park 3 minute, I think it was, we looked at doing The Lost World and doing a bit of a book review, but just the logistics of having to read it, take notes and all that sort of stuff was going to be a lot bigger than what we planned at the time, so we sort of put it in the basket, the two hard baskets, and I think it's great now just sort of going back and referencing those earlier novels for stuff we're seeing in the new films. We're going to get to that in a couple of minutes' time with the lab under Lockwood Manor, but it's just a big task to go back and not only read the books, but to do it for a podcast.
Yeah, it'd kind of be a bit difficult to kind of do it either by pages or something like that, because of course different versions had different pages. Like I have a large print version, and I'm not sure what versions you have, but it'd probably be like best if we did it like chapter by chapter. Maybe that could work.
Yeah. Or I know when the Jurassic Park podcast done their book review, they went like a couple iterations at a time in both books, which it's hard because they've got a lot of chapters, so you'd want to break it up into a few chapters at a time. But then you've got some chapters that are only a page or two long. Other chapters, like all the stuff in the lab for Jurassic Park, that's multiple chapters that are just in the lab. So you'd probably want to make that just a set piece, the whole lab tour or whole visitor center tour as one chunk. But yeah, it's something we can look at. We've got plenty of Fallen Kingdom to go and then Dominion, so we're not starved for content at the moment. But but thanks for that question, and check out the YouTube video, the YouTube channel if YouTube's one of your things. Subscribe to us over there. But in the meantime, David, reading in a minute 11 of Fallen Kingdom.
I am.
All right, minute 11:04, King notices Claire taking an important call and ends with a breaking news story on the BBC. So the main part of this minute is Claire on the phone to Congresswoman Delgado. Obviously a US Senator who might be able to vote to save the dinosaurs in the Senate. It's sort of hard to gauge here if they're just after her for money or if they're trying to get her to swing vote in this breaking Congress meeting that's happening at the moment.
Well, it's kind of difficult, I think, to make her swing vote, because that would be basically the vote is happening while they're on the phone, because they get interrupted with the decision.
Yeah. But then Claire might not have known that it was going to be so quick. Obviously, Congress hearings and that would probably go for a while for some things. But, yeah. But Claire tells the Senator here that she's the lead organiser for the DPG. And then it seems like she tells Claire that she doesn't have time for this, which makes me wonder if Zia made the call to convince her, or if Claire just walked in at the right time. So, unsure how this call had started, but Claire gives a bit of an exposition dump of why the DPG exists, to raise federal funding for, and a dialogue sort of drowned out by Zia. And Franklyn playing siblings, which is a good little bit of humour here, them two sort of going back and forth at each other. Not so much like a married couple, but definitely like brother and sister.
Oh, yeah.
But we basically get Zia saying that she's a doctor and not a telemarketer, and Franklyn's there to plug in cords, but I suspect he's built and ran the DPG website in World.
Damn it, Claire, I'm a doctor, not an engineer.
But back with Claire, she pulls the kids card, first asking if the Congresswoman has kids, and then saying, then when she says yes, she does, Claire sort of heads down the guilt path. So your kids, an entire generation has grown up where dinosaurs are living and breathing, but soon they're going to have to watch them go extinct. Or not, if people like you make a difference. Claire smiles as we can barely hear the Congresswoman saying she will set up a meeting over the phone, so that's a win for Claire. And it's the only win they're going to have, because we're going to get the news breaking story come through in a minute. But as Claire turns around, we can see that same topographical map from the ACU locker on the wall here of Nublar, which I wonder if she snuck out when she evacuated the island, or how readily a map like that's available in the real world.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, just because I would imagine that it has a bit more info on it than Masrani would want out available among the public. So I'd probably imagine that's something that an employee would have,
Yeah. And we also can see a painted sign here saying neglect is not an act of God, get them off the island. Which, again, back to some of those sayings and slogans they've been painting on signs for the DPG. But Claire shakes her hand in victory, and Zia slaps her hands, saying yes. And we cut to the TV as that breaking news banner comes onto the screen. Live feed from the MSNBC, which we know is a...
yeah, it's a subsidiary.
Yeah, which we
NBC.
We wondered earlier when we had the BBC news why it wasn't a universal broadcast, and here we got it finally. At 8:48 a.m., which makes me wonder what time this breaking or this hearing started. If they've deliberated and have an outcome by 9 o'clock. But I know here sometimes parliamentary sittings don't go well into the night, and sometimes through the night. So
yeah, well, it might have been something that they arrived at a decision at late the previous night and decided to announce it first thing the next morning.
Yeah,
that's something that happens a lot too.
Yep. And the news article is titled "Isla Nublar Crisis," and as the minute ends, everyone turns to watch the TV, so we don't get to see what the rest of the broadcast is there. But again, not a lot to discuss for minute 11. Anything else on that day before we get into the novel comparisons quickly?
No, not a super long minute.
Yeah, all right. We get the complete goal of the DPG to secure funds for a safe natural habitat for these creatures, which makes me wonder how much money it's going to cost to set up said habitat, if that's their goal.
You gotta wonder how much Biosyn spent on theirs, because they basically terraformed a entire mountain valley into a lush kind of temperate forest.
Mm. Yeah, big dollars, and even how long have they been at it to get it to where it was? The Congresswoman then asks a question we can't hear, and Claire responds, "This is the same Claire Dearing, or is this? No, this is the same Claire Dearing. That was the operations manager at Jurassic World, and yes, I do feel responsible for what happened there. That's why I'm here doing what I'm doing now." So a little bit extra dialogue there. The Congresswoman knows the name Claire Dearing and asks a question if she was the one involved in Jurassic World. After hanging up the phone, she drops a coffee on Franklyn's desk, but he doesn't pay her any attention. She looks at his screen and sees a video of her talking to kids in a classroom. She asks how many views, and Franklyn replies, 1 or 3. Claire smiles, million? And Franklyn says, nah, 2 or 3,000. And that Claire deflates like a balloon. And we had that viral video, I think it was on the DPG website, of Claire talking to the kids about the dinosaurs and that. Unfortunately, not in the film.
No. I do like the added dialogue, though, of her kind of taking responsibility for what happened with Jurassic World. And I think that it kind of adds a little bit more depth to her character with her acknowledging and kind of giving her reasoning for why she's now doing this.
Well, and it's the DPG. It's 100% focused on the animals. She knows the animals were left there with the father of the park. It's not the other side that we've seen earlier with the 800 million in damages paid out by Masrani Global. It's not that sort of side of it at all. There's no volunteer work at. I suppose it wouldn't be a local homeless shelter or anything because the people coming out of Jurassic World would spread across the world. So I suppose the dinosaurs are what she can focus on.
That now that you say that, that does kind of bring up a interesting point where, so Masrani is doing all those payouts for the lawsuits, and she worked for Masrani. So the fact that she's doing this now, was she fired, or did she quit?
Well, I'd assume after the fall of the park, she wouldn't have a job to return to, much like everyone else that went into the CIA or unfortunately died. I know there's been the question pop up on social media recently about if Simon Masrani hadn't died in Jurassic World, would we still have the following movies that we did? And I still think that Masrani was all about the dinosaurs, not the profit. So Fallen Kingdom would have been a lot different if he hadn't died. And Dominion, I suppose, to an extent as well. But I'd assume that I'd assume she was let go with a possible severance package as well.
It's interesting because there is a difference there, I mean, one's has a bit more negativity kind of attached to it, and the other really doesn't, if she quits to actively help these animals versus like being kind of either fired for negligence and for the fact that she just kind of when you think about it, she did kind of just disappear while the Indominus was. Did she really even tell anybody she was kind of commandeering Owen's services for her own personal reasons? Or I'm just looking at it from the HR side of it.
Well, after the visitor center attack, Claire rings Lowry to say it's heading for the aviary. He's like, "Where the hell have you been? There's stuff going on here." And that's when they armed the chopper up too. It's like all that stuff they didn't want to do. All of a sudden, now that miniguns getting put on the chopper and they're turning the park into a war zone. But it's a very good point, and it may have been addressed in the Evolution of Claire. I've not read the book. It's going to come up in a couple of minutes as well when we get to Eli Mills. Just exactly what the outcome was. It's not like Jurassic Park where most of the people died. You have Hammond. It's all small numbers, payouts to some employees for their deaths, and that's it. It's all swept under the rug. When you got so many people involved, when they're suing Masrani Global for negligence or whatever else, and Masrani's going to want to put scapegoats or whatever up to say what was their fault, and all that too. And Claire being really number one after Masrani and him dying. I know we joked when this Fallen Kingdom come out, like, why is Claire not in jail? And how can she sort of go and do this and have any credibility with the lives that were lost at Jurassic World as well? It's something that hasn't really been touched on anywhere, and I don't know if it ever will be, but it's a good question to ask.
Mm-hmm.
But Franklyn continues about the video on YouTube. The kids are cute, but the video's boring. The attention span of the internet is 17 seconds. You have to do something more than just make a good argument. And Claire says, okay, how do we get their attention? And Franklyn just responds, I don't know, put a guy in a T-Rex suit and put on a motorcycle or something. They don't teach viral marketing at MIT. I'm doing my best here, which... Funny, I've got a photo of me in a T-Rex suit on a motorcycle. It was the first thing I'd done when I got that suit. I thought, oh, well, I haven't seen anyone on a bike yet. And I was nearly going to ride down to the intersection and back on it, but I'm glad I didn't, because that'd be very dangerous. They're not the best things to see out of. But again, just a little bit of dialogue there that wasn't in the final film, that everyone would have understood straight away, knowing all the memes, from all the way back. I know Colin said in interviews it's one of the most favourite things they've licensed was that inflatable T-Rex costume, just because of how viral it's gone. So, yeah, a good little funny bit there. But that is it for the novel comparisons and minute 11. Dave, how about we get out of here today?
All right, sounds good.
All right, lovely.